Hey everybody, sorry that took so long, but I couldn't get this song to be working before the video started. But that was a part of the Hellraiser 2 theme song. Because today I'm going to review Hellraiser, well, actually no, it's Hellbound Hellraiser 2. That's the logo for it right there. This is kind of like a two-pack thing that I borrowed from a friend. It has the first and the second Hellraiser film in one pack. Um, and here's the poster for Hellraiser 2 right there. That's one of the posters, I think. Um, so Hellbound Hellraiser 2, you guys, this is the sequel to Hellraiser. Came out, Hellraiser 1 came out in 1987. This one came out in 1988. I reviewed the first Hellraiser a very long time ago, so I apologize if any of you have forgotten my review for that one a while back. I just looked it up on my computer and it says I reviewed it all the way back in 2011. Um, so I will do my best to cover Hellraiser 2 while also trying to briefly talk about Hellraiser 1 in case those of you do remember seeing that review of mine. For those watching on YouTube, I'm going to try to post that Hellraiser 1 review from a while back since I didn't post it there, I don't think. Um, but in Hellbound Hellraiser 2, you guys, it picks up right after where the first film left off, which was the girl played by Ashley Lawrence. Um, that's the actress's name. I don't know her character's name. She is at a rehab center after the events of the first film. People don't believe her that these Cenobites came out of this box that she had at her house. The police and the CSI are investigating the house due to the events in Hellraiser 1 involving, dead bodies and, the whole deal with the box. And there's this bloody mattress, which plays a significant role in this movie. The mother's dead. Uh, the uncle from the first movie, he's long gone, and you think the Cenobites are gone at this point in the film too, but they are not. And so throughout this rehab center, the Ashley Lawrence character is trying to convince them, hey, the Cenobites aren't gone. Don't mess around with the box. Don't mess around with the mattress that was left behind in the house. Um, because the Cenobites have a way of coming back, and so at first nobody's really believing her, and here let me fix this camera angle here. So nobody really believes her, and they have to they have to investigate this situation some more. And one of the doctors at this rehab center that the Ashley Lawrence character is at for the rehab, um, he's big into studying Cenobites. He's big into studying the box. He's big into believing that there's this fourth dimension where death leads you into that fourth dimension, according to the notes that he had in the movie. So this doctor who's very big at this rehab center that Ashley Lawrence stays at is big into this stuff, and he gets very involved. And without me giving the film away, he gets involved with the bloody mattress left behind from the end of the first movie, which ends up leading into a series of events where Ashley Lawrence is sucked into hell through the box, and she brings a rehab patient with her. Um, and before going into the box, there was a doctor's assistant um, that saw all this stuff going on involving the box earlier in the movie. And so basically, in this film, you guys, it's about Ashley Lawrence and this rehab patient getting out of the world of hell through this box, and basically they have to try to convince the Cenobites that they were once human. They were almost Cenobites for so long that they forgot that they were human. And there's a scene in this film that involves Ashley Lawrence trying to convince them to be human again. And so basically, this film's all about trying to get these people to be people again rather than these Cenobites, and trying to find a way out of this box and getting back into their normal lives again. So Hellbound Hellraiser 2, you guys, as complicated as that may sound from my explanation, this actually is a very good film, and I actually liked it a lot better than the first Hellraiser film. If you saw my first review, which I'm going to post again on YouTube soon here, I actually didn't like the first Hellraiser film, and I almost didn't see this one just because of that. Um, but I like this film a lot. I mean, the Pinhead character, who's kind of the iconic character of the series, that's Pinhead right there, played by Doug Bradley, and they explain his character a little bit more. They still keep him mysterious, and I like that they did that. but I also like how they explained him a little bit more. In the first film, we knew almost nothing about him. In this film, they do explain him a little bit more, and they in some ways we get to know the Cenobites a little bit more too. So that's kind of interesting. Um, there's a lot more surreal imagery in this one because it takes place inside the box and not just into. It's not just out in reality in this one. But yeah, there's just a lot of things they did with this movie that I felt were just a huge improvement over the first film. They definitely took what the first film got wrong and improved upon it a lot to make this sequel work. And in some ways, I would even go so far as to say as you can even skip the first Hellraiser film and go into this one. Problem with that is you probably won't understand like who Pinhead is and what Ashley Lawrence situation is and all that stuff. So maybe see the first film just to understand this one, but as this film stands alone, this basically is the Hellraiser experience that the first film should have been. At least in my opinion, I think it is. Um, so I'm going to share my positive and negative thoughts of the film. Like I said, one of my big positives of this film is we get to see inside the box some more. In the first film, it's basically what the Cenobites were doing, what was while everything else was going on in the first movie. Um, because the first film took place so much in reality. Like I said, basically all we see of the Cenobites and of the world of the box is them walking around in like this chained up room with like all these chains dangling down. We get to see that in this film, but this time around we get to see the characters like the Ashley Lawrence one actually walk around in this environment. Um, we get to see kind of the world of the box that we didn't get to see, the portions of in the first movie. And so yeah, basically we just don't get to see a lot of the box in the first movie, and this film definitely explores what the other portions of the box are like. And like I said, I just really like how we got to see that exploration of inside the box. Um, I thought there was some great surreal imagery in here. It definitely kind of reminded me of like Mulholland Drive or a David Lynch film. Um, just it really gave you the impression that you were inside this world that doesn't exist. You're inside this ultimate hell that you can't get out of. Just really well done with that in this movie. I also like the rehab setting in here. It kind of reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. To me, rehab centers are almost the perfect place to make a horror film at, simply because you have everybody having their own beliefs. It's scary, it's creepy. You're with some of the craziest people in the world there. In this film and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I felt both did an excellent job kind of realistically portraying what rehab centers are like, or at least the stereotypes of rehab centers, while also making a very scary film in the process. So I really like how this film took that setting and used it to its advantage. I thought this film had a more interesting execution than the first Hellraiser film did, kind of like what I was explaining earlier. It just seemed darker, more interesting. Because we get to learn more about the Cenobites, we're almost more afraid of them now because we're more aware of what they're capable of, I guess. Um, yeah, it just seemed like a creepier film. There's a lot of great build-ups in certain scenes. Like I said, this film basically was or is what the first Hellraiser film should have been. Um, the Ashley Lawrence character was a lot more likable in this film. I think she seemed stronger. She seemed you had more of a reason to root for her in this one. The first one, she was just kind of there experiencing these Cenobites coming out of the box, and she just so happened to lock them back in using the box kind of thing. But this film, like she definitely was more aware of what was going on. Um, like I said, we just had a bigger reason to root for her in this one. Um, I liked how Pinhead. I thought he was better portrayed in this film. He definitely had a better characteristic and development as to what a good movie villain should be. He was just more creepier. He Because he was already inside the box, the Ashley Lawrence character couldn't kill him off the same way she did in the first film. So these characters were really challenged because they really had no idea how to take on these other characters now. Now that they're inside the box and they can't go back, they can't use the box anymore as a weapon. Um, for negatives, you guys, this film did have some inconsistencies, and what I mean by that is like near the beginning of the film where you see Doug Bradley turning into Pinhead, which is kind of like a brief origin story kind of deal. Um, the box is like this huge thing from a faraway distance just to make sure they get the shot of the box and Doug Bradley, and there's just some things like that would just felt really inconsistent and almost unprofessional in some ways. Um, there was a lot of gore for the sake of gore moments in here, and I hate when a horror film does that. Um, really wish there was just more reasoning behind all the gore in this, because there was just some scenes in here that just, like I said, was gore for the sake of gore, and it really had no reason to be there. Um, there was some outdated and some lame special effects in this film. Late 80s film, so they didn't have a lot of technology back then to work with, and I think this film was low budget compared to the first Hellraiser film. So I really can't blame him for that, but there was just a lot of scenes in here that really felt outdated and lame, specifically with kind of these tentacle finger things that the uh, doctor turned Cenobite character had and stuff. Um, I thought the film needed more reasoning. Um, there was just not enough, reasoning for certain things going on in here. This film is difficult to digest. It's definitely a film where you got to pay attention the whole time. Like I said, maybe see the first Hellraiser film just to kind of have an even better understanding of what's going on. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a hard film to digest. You really got to make sure you're listening to it in order to get it. Um, I would have liked to have seen more Cenobite details. There were certain questions I had, like what does someone have to do to become a Cenobite? How are Cenobites chosen? How come there's only 5 or 6 of them and not multiple versions of them? So there's a lot of questions I had as far as what makes a Cenobite, how do you become a Cenobite, how do Cenobites get chosen, why do certain Cenobites have powers and other ones don't? Some of them seem more immortal than others. So it just needed more reasoning, I felt, with that kind of stuff. Just more overall story details, I think, could have helped the film a lot better. But overall, guys, I give Hellbound Hellraiser 2 an 8.5 out of 10. It is a very good horror film. Not the best horror film out there, obviously, but a huge improvement over Hellraiser 1, which is already a huge deal. Um, so if you hear about Hellraiser, make sure you check out Hellbound Hellraiser 2. That's definitely the Hellraiser experience I was looking for. I haven't seen the other Hellraiser films yet, but I hope to eventually. Um, but for now, guys, Hellbound Hellraiser 2, it's definitely a film. If you want to learn more about Hellraiser, it's definitely one worth experiencing.